Okay, I would like to welcome everybody to the Village of Lansing joint meeting of the Planning Board and Board of Trustees for January 12th, 2026, to order at 7:01 PM. See, we started a whole minute early because it's a joint meeting. So, you want to open first?
Yes, Ronnie Hardaway. I will open the Board of Trustees meeting for January 12th, 2026. We are participating with Planning Board, so we are guests of the Planning Board tonight, so they will start the meeting and finish the meeting, so we will be in between. So, you take roll?
No, we just,
Okay, well, trustees normally take roll, so I will call roll. Susan Ainsley. Pat Gillespie. Here. Carolyn Greenwald. Here. Kathleen Yin. And Ronnie Hardaway is here. And that's it for us.
Okay, so the first item on the agenda is the public comment period. So this is an opportunity for anybody from the public to bring up anything that is not already on the agenda for this evening. And since it's a joint meeting, this can be anything directed towards the trustees or towards the planning board or the village in general.
Carla Marceau, I'm here as an observer for the community party.
Okay.
Hi, Carla.
Hearing no other comments, I will entertain a motion to close the public comment period.
I'll move to close the public comment period.
Second by Lorraine. I think she beat you.
Thanks, she did.
All in favor?
We will not open the Board of Trustees comment period.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is our first of the joint topics tonight. So this is a progress report on some things related to the village code. So I know that, and I'll kick this one off, and anybody else from the planning board, feel free to chime in, and if you have questions, anyone on the trustees, let us know. But this is just kind of a preliminary look at the work that the planning board has been doing on the updated chart of uses. So not just the chart, but also the, the actual code behind it. So Mike did print off a big copy of this if you want to look at it, in nice big font and color coded. Thank you, by the way, Michael. So what it is it's this is what the planning board has really been tackling for the past number of months. And we started with the chart of uses. So we took it out of the existing code. Here's what's currently permitted. And we broke it up into sections. We kind of paired off into teams of two, went over different sections of the chart of uses. And we sort of filled out a template. Everyone sort of answered the same questions, whether it was a template or whether it was just kind of notes about it. But if there were places that we thought, yes, this looks the way that it should look, kind of according to our thoughts and what we've, been going through the code, or if there are things that we think, certain uses should be added in certain areas, or if certain uses should be removed from certain areas. The one difference I'll mention to that is kind of the last three columns: business and technology, research, and HHS. That's something that Carolyn spearheaded, and I worked with her on that, and the folks at the business and technology part to get their input on, to really see, what they thought could be changed about that chart, the kind of chart there, if there are things that they said, no, we would never permit that here, we don't want that permitted here, or if they would be open to including something new in that area there. I think everyone knows there's been a lot of changes with the business and technology part, so they're looking definitely to, potentially do other things there. So this kind of reflects what their thoughts and views are on that. So this is just a preliminary one. We at our last meeting, or next to last meeting, we did finally make it through the kind of reviews. So what we would do is we would review each section. We divvied it up into thirds. At the first one, we would go over everything, and we would talk about, we think this should stay the same, be added, be changed. Here's why we think that. Mike or somebody would capture the notes about that, give people time to think on it before the next meeting, and then we would review what the changes were, just to see if anybody had questions or comments or thoughts about that before we kind of put it into, yes, this is something that we want to propose to the trustees when we get to that point. So that's kind of where we are with this. I don't know if anybody, I'll move on to the kind of code and definitions and terms and things like that next, but I don't know if anybody else wanted to add in anything on that.
You want to go through what these mean, what the colors?
Oh, yeah, so the colors, the red one that says remove, I think that's pretty self-explanatory, yes. The yellow ones are all changes from what's existing there. So The SP is just, that's a change we want to add, that use in that district with a special permit. The SP plus is we want to add that use with a special permit with additional conditions, which is pretty common for quite a few things. And then there's a couple orange ones that are just some discrepancies that we noticed between the chart and some code, so that's just something for us to revisit. And then the same thing with the kind of X plus, that's something that isn't a special permit that comes to the planning board, but it is something that Mike can approve. But there are conditions on that too, so it's not just a yes, this is easy, you can go ahead and do this sort of thing. So there are definitely some in there. There are a lot of areas when you get to like the kind of bottom of it, when you talk about like utility service underground and transmission lines and things like that, that they're kind of just allowed in places, and there's not really a lot to talk about and do other than maybe engineering reviews and things like that. So there's definitely a lot of areas that stayed the same, but there are definitely quite a few changes. And our plan is when we are done with the kind of next steps, which I'll talk about, is that we will have one or two folks from the planning board come to an appropriate trustee meeting. We'll present the whole package to you. If you have questions about any of the, well, why do you think we want to remove this from here, add this here? We have the notes and information to back that up, the discussions that we had about, and we had good discussions about a lot of them. It wasn't just, that looks good. It's the way we've done it. No, we really dived into, I think all the groups kind of dove into the area and spent a good chunk of time coming up with, well, do we do that now? Mike, what are some examples of where that is? Is that sort of what we want to, recommend moving forward to protect this area or protect the corridor, or open things up for, different kinds of development or businesses or uses? So we did that. The next thing that we're doing, so we've got this chart of uses, and we think this reflects the changes we want to recommend. The next thing that we're doing is going through and actually making sure that the code matches up with what the chart says, because the code is actually, the chart's just kind of a nice reference about, oh yeah, I can do this here, that's great. It's the code that actually, enforces whether or not you can do that there. And there's a lot in there, and a lot of it, especially with definitions and terms. If you go and look at, say high traffic food and beverage, when you go and read the code for that, it references certain things in terms and also certain things in definitions, and we want to really try to clean that up and make sure that every use has a definition. And if there are some terms that we can refer to repeatedly for various things, that there's an updated term there just to make it easier for everybody. And then there's also a lot of references in there to additional conditions and things like that that are already not accurate in the code. Some of it is just things are misnumbered. Some of it references things that are inaccurate, like, oh, go look at, M, and it's really O. So it's, I think over time, things, as certain things have gotten updated or renumbered, they haven't gotten all updated. So that's kind of the next big chunk for us to tackle.
I think one of the other things too is that we went pretty well until it got to the section that you and I dealt with. Towards the end, there's a lot of missing definitions. So this is subject to change. If we come up with a definition that would say, oh, now it's really not going to work in that district. So it's not yet ready to cast in concrete towards the end, but once we get our definitions figured out, I think, and that's going to be hard work.
Yeah. And Natalie, and so that was the other thing, thank you. There's definitely some definitions missing. There are some that, because of some changes, aren't accurate anymore. So Natalie's been really good about helping us kind of find some definitions from similar municipalities or areas that we might be able to take parts of or, update accordingly for ours. And then there will also be, we've talked about the introduction of maybe a couple new uses. So just to reflect things that weren't, even in anybody's thought when the code was developed. So some introduction of some new things, some redefining and maybe breaking apart of some things to help Mike classify things a little easier when they come up. The Drug and Alcohol Council is a good example. When that came up, it was, well, I can classify it as one of these three things, and then, there was still a BZA component of that. So just really trying to help it make it cleaner for everybody who's involved, whether you're the person who wants to develop or build something, or Mike to define something. And then we also had some thoughts about just regrouping some things, and residential is a good example. When you look at residential, it's in various places throughout the code, just because of, alphabetics, and changing it all to residential, comma, single, double, multi. So just grouping things together in a little bit more of a logical fashion. Yeah.
My question is, not excluding definitions that you're still kind of massaging, was there an area of change that there was a disagreement on the board where someone was like, I really don't think that's the way to go? Or did everybody sort of ultimately come to decide on the same thing?
I think that for the ones that we looked at, for some of them, they were we read through pretty much every definition, whether it was the small group or the big group as we went through them. There were definitely definitions that we said, I think we all agreed that's not accurate, and we don't know how to fix that yet. So there are some out there that I think we did settle.
That's why I'm saying it's.
Yeah, we ultimately settled on.
Yeah, like amongst yourselves.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah, we didn't.
This should not be a special permit plus, but.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
You worked
we
it out?
did.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
We talked it out a lot, like,
Yeah.
I mean, we, like Mike said, we were split up into groups, so like Mike and I worked together on the first 10 or 15, right? And we even like spent
Oh, yeah.
brainstorming, like,
yes.
we came across things and we were like, well, I always think of the bank, right? Neither of us knew there was an ATM up there on Craft Road. But then we came back and then we shared this with everybody, and then we kind of hashed it out, and, what does everybody else think? This
There
is what
wasn't a
we-
lot of disagreement, but there were some cases, I guess.
Is there anything that you're
But
still,
ultimately,
people are like,
There's still some definitions that we need to
Outside of,
figure
no,
out.
They're
I
not
don't think
done.
outside definitions, there's any use.
I'm saying
that
that
would-
No, uses,
Yes.
no.
Okay.
Though I will say, go ahead, yeah.
well, no, I was gonna say, yeah, there were some that I think should it be like, I don't know, what was it? Not laundromat, it was, down near the bottom. Yeah, we didn't have major disagreements, because by the time we would talk it through,
Yeah.
there was one that I don't remember what it was at this point, that I was sort of, thought maybe that would be okay there. And after we talked about it, I said, yeah, no, this isn't a good idea.
There was a lot of discussion.
I mean, you
There
can't
really was.
anticipate everything, this is.
Right. Well, I was just asking more like, it was a 3-2 split and we left it
Oh,
in.
no.
It sounds like you hashed everything out and everyone came to consensus.
No, initially, like intra-group, I know, like I worked with Humila, and there were things that, she and I didn't agree on. And then, I'll admit, after hearing her explain, yeah, that makes sense, so then we agreed on it.
Yeah.
And I think there was a lot of that, maybe intra-group initial disagreement, but generally the groups came to a consensus, or if not, it was hashed out at the planning board. But ultimately, the final product, there weren't the, dissenting voices, there was a general consensus.
Yeah.
But not right off the bat.
Yeah, that's fair. So,
Nobody disagreed. There's one one use that we were going to change the name of. We were going to take from theater, nightclub, and discotheque out.
we
We are recommending to remove discotheque, and I don't think there's anybody that is really at odds with
I hear it's
removing the word
coming back.
disco. Well, maybe then.
That is probably,
It's probably true, actually. It might be.
everything else is.
I know.
Oh, geez.
I haven't heard that term since 1971 or 2.
But ultimately, things, I mean, there were really only a couple things, and there are definitely more recent things when you talk about like dispensaries and the drug and alcohol council, like things like that really, and I think there was maybe one other that sparked it was
Residential, which one did we get
It
stuck
was-
on? Was it the boarding house?
yeah, there was one in there, so just some older definitions about a boarding house. And then when we talked about, there were a couple definitions in there that we wanted to break apart. They were lumped into one. So we wanted to break them apart. It was like small scale sales and office use or something like that.
And then temporary and commercial,
Yeah.
and temporary, non-commercial, and that was,
There for that
one.
the Zoom meeting, it's almost.
Yeah, so it's not that the use was wrong or the definition, not wrong, but like the use we thought could be updated or the definition could be updated. It was a interesting combination of all of them as we thought, especially the temporary activities, yeah, and well, what's office use versus a small scale, whatever, but definitely it was a lot of conversation, which I think
Yes, there
will
has
deliver
been.
a much better recommendation with information to back it up to the trustees.
Yeah, I think the definitions, some of them, they would have a laundry list of things that were just very peculiar.
Yeah,
And
some
just-
of them,
And times do change. I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
You could tell that some stuff was definitely dated in there, like discotheque.
And the planning board also did me a service for my job, is it made it easier for me, because we had, in some definitions, we had, for example, I remember, bank was in 3 different definitions. And we basically took it so that if it was office sales and service, that we put everything, all the businesses that did services, we kept all those together, and all the businesses that did mercantile for sales of goods or whatnot. And we kept those in there too, so now everything was separated. And, bank is only classified in one area. So they let it cross. Did a good job of it.
But so,
mixed use too is one of the
Yeah.
things that every time we talked about something, we said, yep, and mixed use. And that was one of the things that the chart, I mean, we say their mixed use is pretty much allowed everybody, but then all these other uses don't really say mixed use. And so I was wondering at some point, I was going to bring that up at our next meeting as to how we want to handle that.
That's sort of another question I maybe didn't want to ask, which is just how does this globally work with the village's overall strategies towards the building our future? Like, for example, encouraging mixed use. And it sounds like you're thinking about it, and you definitely have your eye on sort of where our future is headed.
yeah, I think a lot of it is, as we talk, and it plays into a lot of, other things that the trustees have talked about, and we've talked about with like just design guidelines and things like that in the comp plan. As we talked about it in the various groups, one of it was just the thought of, let's do what's right for this kind of main corridor down here. There's the commercial corridor, and that was always, I think, in the back of our minds as we looked at every use, is this something that, is beneficial or, potentially detrimental to the main corridor? Not that it isn't a good use somewhere else in the village, maybe even right off that main corridor, but, some level of protection to make sure that, we're thinking about what's here and what do we want here moving forward. Yep, definitely. We referenced, I don't know how many times we said the main corridor and the comp plan and other things like that as we were going through thinking about these. And just especially when it came to, residential, like, where do we want residential? And there were some areas that, and you'll see it reflected on the chart, either the draft one in front of you or when we present it, that, there was some residential and some commercial districts. And is that really what the intent is for that? Or should we really be, preserving those residential districts for residential and commercial for commercial?
Like the one unit, but you can see the removal was 1 unit residential building in the commercial districts. We got rid of it because it doesn't make sense to put one building,
In a commercial
one
district.
family there, yeah.
So one question related to mixed use, a lot of mixed use, the interpretations I've seen are commercial with residential.
Yes.
So you'll be addressing that.
We have a definition even.
I think that's a
Yeah, that-
definition.
Yeah.
And so it's not associated with any of the residential categories.
No,
Right.
Because it's going, the underlying issue is the commercial aspect.
right, correct.
The residential being on top of that is a positive addition to that, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, the goal being, we're truly aware of the fact that we need housing, or, and would like to have a more dense kind of
Yes.
situation. So I think as we were talking about some of these other things, I don't know, like any public building, if it has a second story, there's a possibility for residents perhaps as they go forward, if there's development, that kind of stuff.
But would you, for instance, allow a mixed use where you've got health and human services on the bottom floor or retail on the bottom floor, health and human services above that? Would that be considered a mixed use also?
That one too.
Because there's no
There's no
residential.
residential.
Right, 'cause it's
Okay, so
commercial, yeah.
mixed use always has to have a residential component. Okay.
In that case, it would just fall under commercial, right? I mean, some level of commercial,
Okay.
yeah, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like the old bakery or deli, and they live upstairs, right? I mean,
So if it says multi-unit residential building, it's forced from the bottom, but that's not in commercial medium traffic, commercial high traffic, how would you put a mixed-use building?
Because mixed use is its own use.
That is in,
So,
It's
right,
its
so,
own category, so you
Yeah.
don't need a plus and a plus.
yeah. Yeah, you don't have to meet both the district for multi-unit and the district for commercial. Your use is mixed use. So where is mixed use available?
It's only available, well, it's not available in commercial medium or commercial high traffic.
Mixed
Oh,
use
mixed
is available
use
with
is
special
available.
permit.
Right,
Okay, so
yeah.
multi-unit residential couldn't be there unless it was mixed use.
Mixed use, right, well, there's a commercial component of it.
Yeah, that's
Just a little
some of the
bit.
same questions. I was starting to have the same.
I got it.
We had the same comment too, like Lisa kind of alluded to, anytime we got to mixed use, we had to pause for a second, we're like, okay, wait,
What is this?
can we do this? Yeah, so, yeah.
Great.
That makes sense.
Well, and, you know, there'll be, I imagine the charts relatively stable now, there might be some changes to it, definitely,
Some additional
definitions,
uses.
some additional uses for sure.
Right.
It's really now more gonna be the review of the code to make sure everything kind of matches up with.
Definitions.
And definitions, yeah.
That's going to be.
And there'll be some things in terms that probably get moved down to definitions, because it really is a definition.
Not a term.
But I think there'll be some things that we do put in terms that are gonna get referenced by a bunch of different uses.
I would like to throw a wrench into this, but not be solved tonight. And that's with technology related to artificial intelligence or data centers. We do not have a large water supply that is normally required, but this new TerraWolf facility says that they need no water, it's closed loop.
Yeah, we should think about a use for that.
So consider it.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when we came to the end, I was going to ask what's going on with all that, and what's our stance, and do we have any sort of,
We need to.
Yeah,
Okay.
now's the time to do that, right? And we can come up with something.
Don't let it distract you from this. This
Yeah.
is important, but make that potentially an added use, and how do we address it?
what do we know about closed loop for sure?
Closed loop systems, I did some research, okay. The way to think of a closed loop system at this point is like a radiator in a car.
Okay,
It has a refrigerant or a coolant, but a lot of times they require water in addition to the coolant.
this is what I'm wondering. I'm wondering.
They may or may not, it just depends on the technology and so forth. But the other thing I learned was that just like a car's radiator, those coolant systems, the cooling agent breaks down.
Yeah,
It has to be pumped out and replenished.
and where
What
does
do
it
you
go?
do with what you pump out?
And it's a lot.
And what do you do about leaks? So like I said, it's a wrench, but I don't want it to be a major focus for tonight's meeting, just to be thinking about it.
Okay,
It's a good point. It's a new use.
Potentially new use. And I would think it would potentially be something like in the business and technology part, where they've got all the open space and so.
well, it has to be in the sewer. I don't, well, geez,
Yeah. So,
hopefully.
sorry.
Any other comments or questions about kind of our process, where we are, where we're going next?
Did you come up with anything we forgot? Any areas that you think do uses that you thought you needed?
Notice that members only fuel has no designations.
Members only fuel? That was,
Only for BJ's. I think it's only.
that was for the PDA, yeah, it was,
Yeah.
I guess then we should actually just not put it on here.
Well, it's in a separate section where it's written out in the code under whatever PDA it is, so.
As that,
yeah.
So we should indicate
As a use.
PDA here or something,
Good, I got a chart, there's really not that many to change over. I mean,
No.
you can't make another row.
but just make a note of some sort, say,
I thought there is an asterisk in that.
I thought there was some, yeah,
I think
maybe,
there's a
maybe it was something
demarcation
that fell off.
in
We'll take a look at that though, yeah.
thanks, Pat. Okay.
Because I don't remember this coming up before.
No,
so-
that came up when BJ's was there, because there were no others, I don't think, in town.
What else you got, Pat?
Yeah.
That's the one I saw.
You representing tonight.
Between Mike and Kevin and Pat, yeah, there's some Steelers fans here.
Yeah, for sure.
But Zach,
He doesn't, I don't know if he's got a. Oh, yeah, I could have had my Pat. Any other comments from folks on the planning board about? Next item under that section is future code update suggestions. So, obviously this has been our big focus for the past number of meetings, past number of months. And prior to this, we had cleaned up the tree law a little bit, but there's some examples in here of things that, are potential areas for us to invest some time in when, either in tandem with this or once this wraps up, short-term rentals, solar energy review, battery storage. So the solar energy one is relatively new. So I think there's that kind of question underneath it, is it working? Are there changes that need to be made? The battery energy storage, New York State does have a sample model law out like they did for solar. And so our solar law right now does not address battery or energy storage, we'll call it. That is a separate thing, but I don't know what people's thoughts are on that. If there are things that are more important or less important for us to tackle.
Well, I heard some guy on NPR who was some big guy on solar. He said, basically, if you're going to have solar that really works, you need to have battery storage ultimately, because for the off times. So probably should have something eventually. That hasn't been an issue. I mean, we haven't had any other requests for battery
Do we
storage.
have two?
We have three.
We have two over in
Dairy
Dairy
the one at the
By
Brentwood.
the airport, right?
Dairy one and Brentwood.
Yep, everyone in Brentwood, yeah, and then Transact originally asked, was going to do one and then did not.
Correct.
And one was pre-meter and one was post-meter, right?
Correct. And right now, I know that the town of Dryden is working on, they're working on a new law for battery storage systems, so we might want to see what they come up with or something. They're reviewing it right now.
Are they reviewing the state's version to see if,
They started with the state's version,
Okay.
and pretty much what we did for the solar plant, is
Yeah.
take out what was
okay,
applicable, and working on it, so they might let them do the legwork, which maybe.
yeah.
We always wind up having to tailor it to the village anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but
You take the state, then you take the town, then you take one other sample, and it winds up, it's helpful. I love having samples, I'm all about samples, but
Oh, yeah, well,
It gives you a
winds up being
springboard.
different.
we did with the solar, like the application too, like, don't make it harder than it needs to be. And we found out even actually that we thought you had to have a license number for the contractor, and that was something the state rec, because parts of New York, like upstate or Hudson
Yeah.
Valley or something needed it.
They had a contractor number on their application. I think it had something to do with, for example, if you were registered in the city of Ithaca as an electrician, you'd have a license number via the city, not the state. So I kind of researched if the state required a solar license, and there's nothing on there that says they do.
How about for battery energy storage?
That would
I'd have to
probably
look.
be different.
Yeah, because you would want that done right too.
Yeah, I'd have to look that up.
For the short-term rental, since the state has something now, do we still need that? I guess we
And the
need to.
cities, the town and city have them too, right?
Right, but theirs happened before the states, I believe.
Well, the
right?
state is now just going to track everybody. So you don't impose, the village can still impose additional conditions
Code,
if they
code
want
and
to.
considerations, okay, all right.
The county has now imposed a registration
Yeah.
that applies to village short-term rentals.
Yes, right.
So they should be registered with the county, but it's literally a registration.
Yeah.
Like you get a registration number.
What do you do about
Right.
enforcement?
I'm not
$50.
registered, okay, great, I can do whatever I want, yeah.
But then they're presumably gonna say, if you didn't give me my money, I want my money. But it doesn't do anything for code in the village.
Right, yeah.
I mean, so, like, the question is, should we do all these three things? Yes. Should we decide tonight what order? Because we have limited bandwidth for doing the code review. We might wait till we're done with the code review, and then you guys say, okay, which one of these do you want to tackle?
Yeah, I think
One might, in the next 7 months, become
More, yeah,
obvious.
I don't think we need an answer tonight, but I guess my question is, do people think that some combination of those three things are the things that should be tackled next, or is there something that's more pressing? But we don't have to decide.
Is solar energy review different than reviewing our solar code and seeing how?
No, I think it's looking at our solar code and is it working? Is it working? It's been,
That's the
we did the same thing with the tree law.
Mhm.
We had the tree law, the solar law's a bit newer though, we had the tree law, we had some cases, a couple good uses where it was used.
Mhm.
And that prompted a review, okay, let's change a couple things to, to do it. I don't know with the solar law, if I think we've had one.
You've had one that came
Oh,
to
the big
the
one.
planning board only because they're the ground mounted
Yeah.
unit. I've had 3 or 4 other ones for rooftop.
Okay.
So it's getting pretty active. You
Okay.
guys
A
put a lot
point
of
that was
time.
raised with regard to the business and tech park when they wanted to put in their, what is,
The height, the
Yeah.
canopies.
was that it's a great idea to put your solar panels over a paved surface.
Mhm.
But then you have to have a plow underneath and our height restrictions don't allow for that.
Yeah.
Didn't matter in that particular case because it's outside of our
Right.
hands, but when we do review it, we should probably consider that, because I love the idea that it's over.
And currently, couldn't they
Over
request an
plateau.
area variance?
I'm sorry?
Wouldn't that be an area variance if they want to exceed the height?
Oh, you mean,
Exceed the height, yes.
Yeah, so they could still bring a project to the BZA.
Until we make a change.
Yeah.
Until we make a change.
Yeah, my point is always that it's better to have it how you
Certainly.
want it.
Absolutely, right, yeah.
Get a variance if you need it,
But saying if people.
but we don't have to, yeah,
Want
because
to
it's gonna
come and
be a
try,
minute
yeah.
before.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the, right, as if we're, and we did this with the solar light, if we're talking about, residential versus commercial, I can see that in commercial a lot more, right? Like, I'm not gonna have a village plow, a truck the size of a village plow and height come through and do my driveway, so I wouldn't need that in residential. However, something commercial, right, I can definitely see there, the need for something higher there. And if we can adjust, the law to accommodate that, right?
So Mike, with regard to the permits that you, and requests that you've gotten, have you had any kind of pushback from a neighbor who wasn't happy with an array or anything like that?
No, the only one that you would really notice anyway would be the ground mounted system, and they had a written letter from the neighbors saying,
Yeah.
we're fine with this.
It's
that was great.
And they followed the buffering and, we
And the
did, we got
tree
the
law.
the kind of, the elevations of it to look at it, and we had pictures, so yeah.
And they had enough trees
Something.
on their things, so the
Oh, yeah.
tree law was fine.
So basically to review how it's working, and I'm also thinking energy system, impact mitigation, thinking ahead.
In what way?
Just any potential impact of energy systems in areas that could be developed.
Oh, okay.
Well, that would be under the.
Yeah.
Under the battery storage
storage.
system.
Yeah, I think it would,
New
I think it would fall.
model
Yeah.
code that we come up with.
Or unless they come up with sort of residential windmill or wind stuff. There are some really funky things out there.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And then just reviewing any potential changes for decommissioning that you might want to consider.
Yeah, I think the decommissioning in the solar law is, for what we can do and what we should do, is pretty robust. And I would imagine in battery storage, I've looked at the model law a bit, I'm sure they have something in there, and I'm sure at least what we have is a start, but there's a lot more of that for those things. Well, I think to somebody's point too, just about, kind of like the requirements for battery storage installation might be different than solar. I remember even when we did the one at Dairy One, I think the Cayuga Heights Fire, or not Cayuga Heights, but I
Fire
think
was a-
fire was
yeah.
involved too, just because
Right.
dealing with those is vastly different.
Yeah.
So.
They have to have access.
Yeah, yep, and there's just special,
training,
special
so that
procedures
they-
when you're dealing with them, so.
Don't run up with a bucket of water.
Well, and especially with volunteer fire department.
Yes, that was one of the big
Yeah.
things when we had those come up before us,
And
is,
training. It's-
yeah, the training for
Yeah.
the
We
volunteer
also have
fire.
a hydrant requirement. So it could be very difficult to put a battery storage system in a rural area because you have to have so much flow from a hydrant. You can't just bring a tanker truck up.
Not enough.
Not enough water, yeah.
I didn't think they used
No,
one.
they have to use a special agent.
Yeah, because it was loads or something, but yeah. There's no free.
Well, yeah, that one is just more for I think that we've been running with the thought that those are kind of the three other big topics. unless you have thoughts on other ones, or unless anyone from the planning board has thought of another one that's a hot topic.
No, I think, Carolyn, was it you that asked about the signs? Who asked me about whether the sign law was working? And
It might have been me.
But I'm actually have more questions about the tree law than the sign law.
So let's move on to the next one,
Before
sidewalk.
you do.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
For this one, for future,
Yeah.
let's add AI into the.
I was thinking about that as I was looking here. I wonder if somehow this and that, are connected.
Yeah. And it's like the others. I'm not sure
Yeah.
about the order, but
Yep.
it's one that needs to be on there, I think.
Okay. So then the next item is sidewalk, tree, and sign laws. Are they working? This sounds like some NPR segment or something.
So I just want to mention the sidewalk law. I actually got it out and read it because I had never read it before. And the last staff meeting, John Courtney brought up a really good thing that probably should be added into this law, and it's regarding developers maintaining the sidewalk but how he worded it was, I went back and listened, just so I could quote you. The developer would maintain the sidewalk until a point when the village connects to it, then the village would take it over and maintain. An isolated village, an isolated sidewalk in the village would not be able to be maintained. The developer would need to maintain, and when the sidewalk is extended to a connector, then the village would maintain.
Right,
I think that
we
needs to
talked
be-
about this
Yeah, I think this would need to be added in here somewhere. Is that where it would go? I mean, it would,
it probably would be.
Condition of a special permit.
It usually comes up during the review, but maybe it should be made clear in the code so there's no question.
because there's nothing in the code unless there's another piece in
No.
the.
Is there something in the code specifically that says?
It's anything-
Just maintain
Yeah,
sidewalks?
there's nothing in here that says anything about maintenance.
It's a gray area that came up at,
Plowing and shoveling.
If we accept dedication of a sidewalk, then we have the maintenance.
Yeah, once it's dedicated to
Say
it.
that in the code? The
No.
village shovels the sidewalks?
No, but
No.
we take dedication to the sidewalks, and then we have to maintain them.
But that is
So
not
that's
in the
maintenance.
code
Yeah.
It
either.
doesn't say
To answer
anything.
your
It's not in the code, but
No.
sidewalks that we take
But in
dedication to.
practice,
yeah.
that's what we do.
Yeah.
But should we codify that? Is that what?
Or should you stop taking dedications to sidewalks?
well, we don't have to
You
take
don't have to
dedications of
accept
sidewalks.
No, we never,
But,
we can always turn them
right, if
down.
it's one like the one up Dart that we installed, okay, well,
Yeah,
that's different. But right, if it's, the next development,
Well,
pick a place and they install a sidewalk,
at,
what's the expectation of that?
at some point, if we want sidewalks, we've got to come up with something here because maintenance, they require maintenance. Plowing, replacement, all that. And so it should be clear who's responsible for that.
And I think right when you get to, I'm sure John would attest to this, maybe not, maybe you disagree entirely, but at some point, right, say, great, we have all these sidewalks, now they're all connected. Well, that's also now a much bigger, I'll say, burden for, the village staff to go
I
and.
just witnessed that a lot of city Portland, city of Ithaca have such variations in the quality of sidewalk care or the quality that if it's in the right of way, typically the village should take it over and maintain it, because then we can have consistent care. It's all figured into their tax one way or another anyway, you know what I mean? So, it's hard because we talked about East Point, and Mike, I don't know if Mike ever got around to look at the conditions of the approval, but at one point we talked about putting in an escrow or they maintain it until we connect. And that's when I was speaking to that in that meeting there. So, if you want consistent care, the municipality.
Yeah, that is the thing.
I want consistent care, but I would not want to codify the village's maintenance responsibilities. That seems like a legal pitfall to me.
What was the condition?
I wouldn't want to codify the village's maintenance responsibilities. Like,
I think you're eventually gonna have to do that.
Well, I think that's when you have the option to accept dedication, like right along Eric's spot, we made him fix certain part of the sidewalks before we would accept the dedication and take over the maintenance. So the village is not going to accept, an inferior product into their dedication. So I think we do have some power to make sure sidewalks are up to standard before we take them over. So at least then the village is maintaining a good product.
you know, if we don't ultimately take them, people are still going to think they're villages' sidewalks. This is the problem. It's like with Graham Road. Everybody's complaining about the potholes, and I still want a sign as saying you are now leaving village property.
Not a village pothole.
I'm thinking of just having one made. I mean,
Printing some signs, you can add that.
or you are now entering mall property. I mean, either or, but it's, I think that to his point is, you know, for consistency of maintenance. I mean, you know that you read about shoveling, people are supposed to do their own sidewalk, and, you know, some people get old and they can't do it, and they can't afford it, and blah, blah, blah. So I think it's, to her point, it probably, yeah, until it's brought up to standard, but then I think we have to just say, at some point, we're going to have to pay more taxes to get the things we want. And I want sidewalks, and most people do.
And you want this to be a walking community, right, Carolyn? And
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what, because I'm out there walking every single day at different times, there are a lot of people walking, especially on the village trails. But I see people walking, and they're walking down to the Cuba Mall, or they're walking down Graham to the mall, but they're coming from all of the neighborhoods. So more and more people are walking.
And I think it's going to get the
And
increase.
you probably
There's a
see
good many people that commute to walk on our trails. They park at the Artel Park and they use the trails. I think we should tackle this sidewalk thing, but I think we should do it in due time. We have a lot of irons in the fire right now, and that's our problem, because we're facing a comprehensive update, all this other stuff around. We're working on a bunch of policies. I just don't have my mind clear on to do it correctly right now.
So we have to be mindful of that.
Well, I was gonna say, so
permits.
for now, Natalie, would it be then, as a special permit is granted, that we consider a condition to put on there as a kind of stopgap, right? There's nothing,
I would
in-
consider it, but then be prepared that if that sidewalk is not maintained, how are you gonna enforce
Sure.
that? Because now we lack the code. What?
Post it that it's not maintained in the winter. We tops.
Oh, for the village.
like no winter maintenance.
Like, no winter maintenance. Tops was the sidewalk to nowhere for 15 years.
Yeah.
And finally, we got around and when I first come here in 2005, we posted it, saying the sidewalk has no maintenance, basically. I mean, we could start doing that, and even the trail section, there's a section of Danabar Trail that we don't do maintenance on. And eventually, maybe we will, if it all starts to make sense to connect, maybe we will, and it's not that difficult, they're all ready to be maintained. But we're also covered under prior written notice laws. So.
Yeah.
And we won't get into that,
But that, so, you know, right, as we're taking time to figure out how to appropriately address this, at least the planning board can maybe do something to,
escrow's tough too, though,
Yeah.
because
yeah,
putting money in something that if they don't do it, we have to do it with Public Works, and Public Works has to take the valuation. All our municipal costs are higher than general contractor for developers.
Yep.
So, escrow's tough, but that's why we post it.
Yeah.
You know?
but we can at least start with conditions that you have to maintain it until, you know, such a time that it's dedicated, you know, until such a time that the village accepts dedication of, because maybe we don't accept it because, right, it's not up to snuff, or maybe we don't for, you know, pick a reason, but at least that's something to bridge the gap.
Yeah, and that's when the sidewalk law would come into play, so there's always an opportunity for a condition.
Yeah, okay.
But the only real true way of actually guaranteeing it's gonna get done is if we do it, unfortunately.
That's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
that's what I'm saying too.
Maintenance.
That's what I'm saying
If you
too.
have it
Cite
as
them
a
under the
condition-
code.
If you have it as a condition to something, then, you know, we have to go through the whole process of
Citing them.
6-month process, and by then it's summer.
Yep,
So,
for snow and ice, but if there's defects in the sidewalk. then-
defect.
For the construction.
But there are some places out, some developers out there that will want to do that for their, you know, the people who live in their community, you know.
Or at least you could then
their-
tell the people of the community that it's.
Yeah, and be
their
like,
developer.
hey, you're upset, go talk to, yeah, your property manager, because they're not doing what they agreed to do.
It's a private sidewalk at
It
this
is,
time,
yep.
I was
Yep.
gonna say that's sort of different, yeah,
just like the potholes around the mall.
Private pothole.
exactly. This is a private.
I think that you're gonna have to have a lot of those signs printed up.
We can put
Because
one
the
in each
potholes are
pothole.
getting worse over there, by the way.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
There would probably need to be a license agreement, wouldn't there, Natalie, and something like
For
that?
what?
For if they're maintaining the sidewalk in the village right away.
I don't think so. I'll think it through. It's still their land, there's in the right of way.
Not if it's in a dedicated right away, if the sidewalk's in a dedicated.
Yeah,
right
well,
of
it
way.
depends where if their property line still goes to the street, then it wouldn't be a dedicated. That street hasn't been dedicated yet.
Bomax Drive is a 60-foot dedicated,
Yes.
dedicated road.
Yeah.
Their sidewalk is in the village property.
Ah.
They would need a license agreement, the same way we made them get a license agreement to install do not enter signs on that secondary access,
Yes.
which we haven't received yet.
Maybe in another 5 years.
Well, there's only hope, right? Right.
Okay, other thoughts on sidewalk stuff? Rain or anybody? How about tree? Is the tree law working? We've had it come up quite a few times.
It's working, but you need an escape clause out of it.
We do need an escape clause out of it, yes.
Explain escape clause.
For areas, for example, we somewhat had property on Rockcrest, which extends all the way down to, there's a property in Rockcrest that extends all the way across Bullmax, all the way down to the lake. It's obvious if you look at it, they have plenty of trees. So all it would really be is academic and costly for the owner to go through and take a tree count. It's all deep woods. It would be, when you could just look at it and say, that's definitely got enough.
There's definitely enough
But we
tree.
have no
I
way
see.
of waiving.
Okay. Yep. No,
We've been talking about it. but
we've been
never
talking
have.
about it, but it's not in there.
Did they do a tree count, though?
I thought they did.
I didn't think they did an actual tree count. Because we said it's obvious there's enough.
But we need to.
We need to get that in.
In the code,
But
though.
how do you say that? I think that could be just a,
Well, just like in the sidewalk, where we have unless waived by the.
At discretion, yeah, like the,
even to do the count.
yeah.
I think there is. I think we did
Yeah,
look in.
and did that after we,
Is that one of the small, one of the,
I thought
like,
it was
couple?
Not doing the actual count, though.
no,
You need to prove that you have sufficient trees.
yes, all right, okay, well, we need to look at that, because I thought we did that, so that we could waive it.
I don't remember that being.
I know, we'll have
changed.
to look. It's been a
Oh, it
while
never
since.
actually happened?
I remember we
No,
discussed.
We did.
Did
We
we?
did.
Was that one of the
I
changes that you
was
put in the
gonna
tree law that the trustees approved then?
No.
Oh, no, it was one of the ones that there were two things we changed. What did we change? I could swear we changed that.
We can either, if you can't comply with the tree density requirements, you then have the option to go to the tree bank. And then now the planning board has the option to even reduce the tree bank payment down to 0 if you want to. It's ostensibly waiving the tree law. But I think
You wanted to say waive the tree line?
you want to waive the tree count if it's
Yeah.
obvious that there's enough trees.
Okay, I suppose.
I think it's going to be a hard thing to word. I don't think we even require necessarily a formal tree count, though.
I thought we did.
We require a density.
That's it.
Yeah. we'd have-
You need to
yeah,
verify the
we'd have to-
density depending on your acreage.
But it doesn't say by submitting a tree count to the Board of Planning Board.
As I look at it, it looks to me like you're requiring a tree count no matter what. If you need to know density, I don't really know of any other way of figuring density.
Sounds like a small topic for us to tackle at
I
a
think that we better
planning
look
board
at
meeting.
that, yeah.
Hopefully a small topic.
It's getting bigger the
I was
longer.
gonna say, I was like,
we
wait a
talk
minute,
about
don't
it.
say anything else about it. No, yeah, no, that sounds like something we can,
I could have sworn.
It's not listed as a required document.
All right.
well, we'll take a look at the other things about the tree law.
Carolyn's
You
working
fixed
on
the
it.
one where, we probably fixed this 2 years ago, where the kid wanted to be a beekeeper, but they
Yes.
had to do a tree
Yes,
count.
that we
Yeah,
It's
fixed,
changed
yeah.
to the footprint.
Yeah,
Right, okay, yeah.
yep, that we did change. Well, you changed.
That was one of the ones and then my neighbor's
I
act,
can fix it,
you
yeah.
know, so we've had some really good texts right up front.
Yeah.
That's really helped a lot, but obviously
Okay.
Sign.
Sign law?
I don't know that much about the sign law until the other day when I read it. And I know that we sort of had this casual conversation when we were here that day for
Signs everywhere.
the banners. And it specifically states in here, no sign or part thereof may contain or consist of banners, posters, pennants, ribbons, streamers, spinners, or
And there's all
other
over the
similar
place.
moving. And there are multiple places with banners in the
Yeah.
And I
village.
fought that constantly. I make them take them down. As soon as I see them, I make them take them down.
Well, the
But
only
they
one,
put them back up. You mean the big fluttery
They
things?
had one in front of Ross to make them take it down.
They-
They have it over here in front of Meadows. They
Yeah,
take
the
it down,
Meadows-
They put it back
the
up.
Meadows
And
and
BJ's has them
Northwoods.
too.
Northwoods also.
Yes,
Does BJ's
there's
have
an
it?
opening there.
The
About-
fluttery ones, the tall ones that kind of those tall.
They have those there?
Huh?
How have I never noticed those?
I guess one question is, do we want to allow some sort of
I mean, these banners are,
temporary banner?
what'd you say, they're like 5, 6 feet tall? I mean, the ones
I
over at
don't
Northwoods,
think it's
there's two of them,
No, I
they're
actually
huge.
don't think we should, but that's, the thing is, the sign, when Ross came to us, they had, my God, 85 million signs all over their things. And actually, I talked to Lynn about this, Leopold, because it would have gone to a variance if they wanted it. But, basically, we held our ground and just said, and everything was so visible, and they just backed off, and they didn't even go for a
And
variance.
it's fine, you
I
can,
think we pretty much handled it, but I think it really sets a tone in your village to have all this stuff all over the place. I personally, but this is a personal thing, so.
Would that also ban our consideration of putting a municipal, not a banner, but, well, just, I can't remember what they're
Like a
called.
festival when they string it across
Well, no,
the
it's
street.
just on the light poles, where you'll have a small
Oh, those little guys, yeah, those little,
18 by 24.
yeah, they're kind
Actually,
of, they can be charming.
Yeah.
I don't think that's necessarily a banner.
No, it has
Is it
to
a
be
pennant?
something that moves.
Yeah, that's like free
okay.
flowing at the
Yeah.
bottom.
Well, it depends how strong.
yeah, I was gonna say,
Likely,
I think if the village did it, I would picture it, Village of Lansing, but it would be attached, the top and the bottom would be attached to something, so it would look very professional, not like you just bought it at Staples, had it printed at Staples, and you stuck it in the ground.
okay. I'm not sure, we haven't really discussed that in depth, and we would check with the DPW department, to see if that's gonna cause headaches.
because John doesn't have to go out there with a
Some of
bucket truck every day to reattach signs that are broken loose to the bottom, be like.
Exactly right.
Some of it's, is it aesthetically pleasing, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a
One of the
question.
things that I think came up a long time ago and has never really happened is digital signage, and I really think that is just
is
a
not-
mess.
It's, to me, it's distracting, because I'm waiting for it to change.
Exactly, and
I
I,
went on Route 13.
Yes, yeah.
Me too, the other day, I was
No,
like,
it's
oh, I wonder what the next, what it
That-
says, I know, and then,
It's distracting.
Oh, I just missed the one, what wasn't it?
I
Yeah.
no, it can be very dangerous,
But it
but the
looks
thing is,
cheesy,
it's
though.
also, we haven't had that come up.
No.
The only ones we have in town make sense, which is it's the gas
prices.
gas prices.
Right,
And those aren't constantly running, so that, I
right.
mean, people would stop and they don't take off from a stoplight
Yeah,
because they're
paying
reading the next
attention.
thing.
It's like a handheld computer.
But we don't really deal with digital signage in our code,
That's a potential, something that we might consider adding to our code, is,
not allowed.
Yeah.
There was one that came, this was years
Somebody was
ago.
gonna come and do a presentation.
Yeah.
And they never
I think, I
came.
want to say,
That was when Marty was,
Marty was still, yeah, I want to say that, I thought that, maybe not, well, I guess we'll take a look at it, that sounds like another good, small planning board topic, maybe just a kind of cursory review about.
Oh, actually, it is in the,
I thought it was in there.
no, it is, it's right here.
It's not allowed or disallowed?
Yeah, no, it says any illuminated sign or lighting device may employ only lights emitting constant intensity, and no
Yeah,
sign may flash or move or have the appearance of flashing or moving.
Okay, that should take care of it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lorraine.
See, that's why I wanted copies of these.
it's in there. It's in there.
I found it, well.
It was its own chapter,
I
which is
know.
why I said to
The
her. it's
sign
its
one
own
I could
chapter.
find, it was the sidewalk one that I couldn't find. Yeah, the sign one I did find though.
You
Just
know,
needed to put a little extra effort. into
well,
it.
we think everything's in 145 and it's
I know.
115 instead, and so, we don't always get to that.
So one of the beautification village aesthetic things I think about sometimes are what I'm gonna call, I guess, banners or pennants. So when you go to, like, for example, Auburn, when you drive in, they have, like the historical Auburn sign. That one in particular is quite attractive. In the town of Lansing, I helped design the one that you see now with the lighthouse. And I was thinking at some point we might have something on a commercial corridor that helps us define the village, which at this point we could not do. So if it ever get to a point where we wanted to do that, we would have to think about the sign law.
You're thinking of like the little things that are fixed at the top and the bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah, we just,
I just read this. I just read this sign thing and it seems to me like it would be a sign.
yeah, that's why I asked.
I think it would be, but the sign for the village would be much more professional. It's not going to say we're giving tours today or whatever.
I just read this sign.
It's for the village, yeah, no, that's what it is.
This sign.
It's for the village, yeah.
We've done other stuff where we did here.
Yeah, veterans, one thing on time.
Seen those
Oh my
where it's the
God.
veterans
I guess we need to confirm
in the military there.
as, before we make any purchases of them,
Yeah.
make sure that we're not
Right,
adding
maintained by
a burden
government
to our DPW department at the same time.
or-
Oh,
Does not
it doesn't include
flags,
us.
emblems, Pillars of nation,
Oh, okay,
government body or
cool.
school.
Cool.
memorial,
Government bodies are, okay, there you go.
okay. So
115.
while this definition of sign would include those kind of things, it is not applicable to government agencies. according
There you
to-
go.
Oh, okay. I only printed the one pager.
Elections, government agency.
And Carolyn, I just want to add, when you were talking about your beautification,
Huh?
when you mentioned last week about the lights, I was all for that.
Yeah.
Lights.
Lights.
What about the
There's
lights?
something about holiday lights. I don't know. When I see that, it just makes me happy. And I
Uh-huh.
think it would make a lot of people happy. Anyway, sorry, John.
So just
Except for John.
Just to catch up, so, we got the notice from the county about their annual beautification grant, and I was just driving, thinking about it. And, when you drive through, for example, Dryden, you go and all the trees are illuminated in winter, and it's very, very nice.
Yes, it is.
So I was thinking, is there any way we could do that in our area? They would have to be solar, because we don't have like electricity, but it's something to think about in the future.
Yeah.
John had some other ideas for the beautification grant for this cycle, but just in the future, or not, maybe not even related to this grant, do we want to do some kind of like winter illumination? 'Cause
I think if you do lights or something like that, it should be on a couple centralized locations.
Yeah.
Rather than strung along the Trip Banner Road. Like, for instance, the community garden down at the Trust Company. I know it's kind of at the village village line, or the village monument at Cops or something like that. If you start stringing them all over, they become a big maintenance issue.
I mean, I imagined it just right in that area, what you're talking about, like on both sides of the street. In fact, the other day when I was at the light, I was trying to decide which lamppost, how you could string from lamppost to lamppost, or
Right.
how you would even do it. But yeah, I mean, you don't want to do the whole block, but just that central area. Like, do you remember years ago, Pat will remember this, when was it the Holiday Inn? Was it the Holiday Inn that used to be where the Cuba Blue, at one time, was it a Holiday Inn? It was the Ramada.
Yeah.
Okay, when it was the Holiday Inn, and maybe even when it was the Ramada, they always had the trees decorated. Do you remember the trees being decorated with lights? And I always loved that. Like in the wintertime, you'd drive by there and they'd be all lit up at night.
Even when I go out to 81 Marathon, they always at Christmas time have these wreaths and just, and normally, when it comes to Christmas decorations or, holiday decorations, I can really throw my aesthetics overboard. It's like anything glammy, oh, great, looks wonderful. And it is cheerful with these gray nights and
Yeah,
days that we have.
yeah.
Definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any other laws that we didn't see if they're working?
I think the fact regarding the signs too is I had coffee with Lynn, and I said, they haven't met in so long. That some things are okay because there's not a lot of requests for variances.
That's a great
I mean,
sign.
Yeah, that is a
right,
good
yeah.
thing.
That's exactly what we want.
Exactly. I said, I think maybe you should just meet quarterly just to keep the board kind of, keep your interest, I mean, just, oh yeah, we're still here kind of thing.
Okay, If there's no other discussion about laws, any of those laws at least, next item on the agenda is a comp plan update.
So the comprehensive plan that I sent around this week is not substantively different from what you have hopefully seen before this week, because if it is the first time you're seeing it, I do apologize, because it's 71 pages. But if you have feedback, it's not too late to share, especially, you know, for the direction of the village, which is why two boards are meeting tonight. So if you feel like there's something that we didn't quite incorporate directionally, and also any kind of little substantive, non-substantive changes that you found, just go ahead and send them to me.
There was just one thing, Carolyn, I was looking through it today, and I think I probably mentioned this before when we were meeting in our comp plan meetings, is the thing that bothers me on the data on those charts is that it's already so outdated. I mean, we're in 2026, and most of those charts are showing to 2023.
But that's the census, you don't.
I know.
But you don't really
but I-
have a choice to do.
Yeah, but do you think, I mean, yeah, anyway, it just seems weird, you know, to show data for because so much has already changed already from 2023. And even at the start of this year, things are even changing further.
Massive changes over the
Yeah,
last 3
it's like,
years.
so, I mean, you're always going to be outdated, right? It just seems weird to read through that and see everything. The only thing that is like current is the budget, which is good.
One thing I will say, though, is that the village is a fairly stable geographic demographic, because, you know, like, we look at our population changes, it's really stable. The ages, you know, we see some fluctuation, and they're very interesting to note, but we're not going from, like, you know, it's not like Austin, Texas. It's like, you know, like, what had 10,000 people, now it has 150 million people, you know, like, it's not like that. So I wish we had a perfect data source.
Yeah.
I'm afraid the data sources from the federal side might dry up anyway. So we might see if there's another agency out there, but the agencies that would do that are typically
Cost money.
federal or state, and if we can't find any, we just can't find any.
Yeah.
That is problematic. It would be nice if we could get, you know, an on-demand, immediate update of whatever the data is, but I just don't think that's possible at this moment, anyway.
Have to do our own village census.
Be careful.
That's a popular,
Oh,
you
I
know.
was gonna say.
I think our budget might go.
Lead
right.
balloon.
What's your timeline, or
Yeah.
what's the timeline?
I'm ready to go.
Okay.
Oh,
We're
so,
ready to go. Let's have a public hearing for tomorrow.
We need a little more time.
But I mean, is it something that you hope to have done in, like, February, March?
As soon as we have a public
Okay.
hearing,
Okay.
hopefully we can pass a resolution.
We don't, we have our noon meeting with staff and trustees this month. After that, that's the last one for the month. So if we wanted to, we could set a public hearing probably at our staff meeting if we wanted to. But if we don't do it then, we can't set a public hearing until our first meeting in February.
Can we set a public hearing tonight?
I mean, theoretically.
Yes, but if not everyone in the planning board has had a chance to look at it,
Do you want more time?
I would like more time. I really need to.
I'm good.
I see at least one nod for yes a little more time, so.
Okay, sure.
Not much.
But not much, yeah.
Yeah, we need to have a deadline.
Can you do it by Wednesday night?
No.
so
Everybody else should be done by-
I guess our schedule will be then to
Set it at the first February.
set it at
meeting.
the first February meeting, and it would be at the second nightly meeting.
That you would then
Wait,
pass it.
There's a holiday in February.
Holiday in February too. Yeah, February and January are,
February.
I think it's the second, it's your second meeting date, because I'm the liaison for February, that's the
Okay.
reason I know this, I noticed it was a
Okay.
president's holiday.
okay. So we could set our public hearing for the comprehensive plan in at our first opportunity, which is in February, but then the public hearing might be extended out a little bit more, so
The March meeting.
release date might be March. Is that okay?
Live with
I mean,
that.
that definitely gives us time to
Yeah.
send along any suggestions.
Yeah.
That's Okay.
I need a hard copy.
Waiting for a copy, I believe.
Yeah, I wasn't going to print all those pages. I thought about it.
I didn't realize though that, I mean, I'm finally focusing on it, so that the median age had dropped significantly.
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things.
That is, it was,
When
when
you-
actually, when I think about it and I look at who's walking by on my road, it's young people.
When you and Deborah wrote it, you talk a lot about seniors, and I took out 50% of that focus.
Because that's what,
Obviously, senior services are still important to the village, but it was like, something you guys really keyed in on, that we've had a more diversified perspective, because there's below 5 is skyrocketed, and the young kids in general.
yeah.
So
that's
yeah, the
nice.
median age has gone way down.
Sidewalks, strollers.
Yep.
Mhm.
Just sell me on sidewalks. I love a good sidewalk.
I know, people do. You always see somebody on them.
So, okay, well then, anybody, any feedback we have for Carolyn, try to get it as soon as you can. I would say no later than the end of the month. That way it gives her time to incorporate stuff into it, any changes before, yeah, can you do that, Mike? Can you print?
Carolyn, will our committee be meeting again?
Do you want to?
No, I just remember you saying that we would probably meet one more time.
Or if you've got one.
I didn't know if we needed to.
We'll be happy to meet if people want to talk about something substantive, about substance.
No, I'm good with everything.
Does anybody
Well,
else?
why don't we see what the planning board comes back with? If there's some kind of
Okay.
thing that they want to address in a more substantive way, then yeah, the committee will tackle it.
Does anybody else on the planning board or anybody want a physical copy of it to review? I know Lisa said yes. Anybody else is good electronically?
Yeah, I'm good with the PDF. I really liked the PDF. That was easy to.
Yeah, it was.
The one thing I didn't do you know if the PDF, you can search for text? You know if it's character recognition, or do you happen to know?
I just saved it in Word.
Word?
If you have Adobe, can't you always search PDFs?
No, not
Not unless you
always.
buy stuff.
But if anyone wants one that can be searched, I can take the PDF that you sent us today. I can do an optical character recognition and make,
Sweet.
it's going to be a bigger file because it's got more data in it, but then you can search for terms if you need to. Would anyone want that?
Oh, well, the one that Carolyn said, she has both the PDF and the Word version of it, so you can,
Yes,
oh, yeah.
just, if you could open it just quick and see, just search for a word,
Search in Word, yeah.
Control F.
Oh, let's see. Yeah, it
Okay,
works, yeah.
good, that's there,
Yeah.
good, that's good.
Mike Baker, do you want to add the comp plan as an agenda item for the next meeting, so the planning board can be sure to give any
Yes.
feedback?
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, I just thought of that. I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
search
that's
that
good.
PDF and, okay, good,
Okay.
it's excellent.
Next item on the agenda then is board-to-board relations. This is a topic that came up, I think, Lorraine, you brought this up? And we all kind of chimed in, just in the training.
I brought up Village Retreat, but
Yes.
I didn't bring up the other thing.
Yeah, so it was just kind of an update on, training that's available to the boards. And if there's any value in, I know one of the things that came up, right, you all have NICOM, we have NYPF. If there's any value, or if it's even something that any other municipalities do, I don't know if people from the planning board are ever invited to NICOM, or if anyone from, trustees are ever, interested in going to, the New York Planning Federation. I know a couple of you trustees have already been to the Planning Federation before. And then also the Village Retreat was an idea that came up just, yeah. I don't know if people have thoughts on that. Lorraine, I know it was something that you
So
brought
the
up.
Village Retreat, Ronnie, my thought for that was, I think it'd be really good for, and when I mean village staff, I'm including all the boards as well, to do some team building.
All three boards?
Yep. And the staff that's here, the DPW staff, Mike, Jody, and I don't know what the plan is for, I know you were starting a job description for Jody's replacement. I don't know what the timeline is on that, but if you're going to do a village retreat, and if you are going to hire somebody in the next 6 months or whatever, it would be a good idea to have that person on board, so that.
What would the
you-
retreat look like, Lorraine?
I'm thinking like, well, first of all, you would, I think it would be a real benefit to find a really good facilitator to come in to lead the retreat, and someone who has experience with municipalities, and I'm sure there are people out there, probably the New York Planning Federation has lists of people. So someone with this municipality background, planning background, DPW background, all of it, as well as HR, of course. And my thought would be to do some team building, like in the morning, so people can get to know each other and do some fun activities and that kind of thing. And then, have like lunch, and then for the afternoon sessions, I would do something like come up with some projects, and then break up into certain groups. And you're going to be working with people that you wouldn't normally work with. And, just when I mean projects,
Like review the tree law or something like that.
well, something like that, but maybe something a little bit different that's kind of fictional, you know what I mean? Not a real thing.
You're gonna get stuff reading law.
Oh,
Because then you would cross the line into open.
Case studies or,
So
yeah.
I'm talking about like some fun things, like, I mean, I don't know, we could talk about a pollinator garden or something, you know what I mean? But you would break up into groups and you'd be working with people that you wouldn't normally work with, and just get to know people. It's just about relationships and respect and.
I think a potential impediment, first blush, is cost, because we would have to rent a facility, hire a facilitator. And so, I mean, we couldn't do it in this room necessarily.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think this room is big enough to do it.
We would,
Go somewhere.
usually a retreat like that is done off-site.
Yeah.
So you're out of the environment of what the village
Yeah.
is.
Right.
So it doesn't mean we can't do it. It might have to wait until after our next budget cycle. We'll need to talk with Jody to see if we've got anything in a bucket of money that we could use for something like that. But we would need to get some sort of estimates from facilities and a facilitator who would be coming up. Probably the facilitator would be the person that would help develop the program.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some time delay anyway, so if we could delay it until our next budget cycle, we could consider it, see where it come from. At that point, you were talking about a potential replacement for Jody. That position would be included in our next budget cycle also, so we would have
Yeah, that
more
makes sense.
information.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Does that sound appropriate? No, correct, everyone? Okay, all right. I don't think it's a bad idea. I've been to good ones, been to
Oh, yeah.
not good ones,
Yeah.
so.
I've been to many,
A good one.
I've been to many of them
facilitators.
during my time at Cornell, and they are always pleasant. I mean,
We,
there have been times when they haven't been so pleasant.
well, there are some resources locally, Ithaca College, Cornell, people that can recommend facilitation.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And the county might even have some.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is,
So I happen to know someone that's on the county, one of the county boards, so I will.
Lorraine, did you go to any locally here at a location that you would recommend?
oh gosh, it's been a long time. We always tried to stay on campus, but we would go somewhere away from our building. So like, we go out to the Lab of Ornithology. That's a good place to go. We also did the plantations. They have space, but I don't know if they run out their rooms. Things changed when COVID happened.
Yes.
Those are the two that come off the top of my head. I remember going out to Aurora before, to the Aurora Inn. I remember I've done retreats. Well, this is when Cornell owned,
Island Lodge.
yeah, I loved
Yeah, me
going
too.
there for retreat. That was great, yeah.
Well, if you have suggestions, document them and send them out to all of us. Yeah, and that goes for anyone in the
There's
board.
probably a lot of empty space around. I mean, look at them all, right?
Well, and there's, I mean, one,
That is an absolute no.
Slow idea, a little bit better than most.
well, and I was referring to, I mean, like, there's a lot of outside resources, both in the village and outside the village, that are away from this building. So now that's a little weather dependent, but.
Yes.
So there's
Yeah.
probably some.
And you probably want to do this in the summertime because people probably, well,
It depends, yeah, I think,
People are, I mean, I know it's vacation schedules and stuff, but sometimes
And
things are less.
when it's busier for certain functions at the village, I mean,
For
then,
the DPW, because it's summertime, I'm sure, but
so, but we
you
can.
can carve out a day in 2027. In 2020.
He's like,
And obviously, there's an issue with having everyone there because we do have to provide municipal services. So there are some logistical problems, but that we try to work
There's
out.
always a
So maybe
solution.
just do a half a day, you know, you don't have to do a whole day. Half a day and lunch, half a day and a picnic lunch,
Well,
Ronnie.
the municipal services are not a problem. John's case is exceptional because you never know when
Right, yeah.
water line
I
break
was
out.
gonna say,
But for Jody and Mike, we can just put a sign up and put a notice out that we will be closed for.
Staff development.
Staff development.
Well, you could say, if you have a DPW emergency, call John's cell phone. Right on the door.
That's where they call anyway.
You don't need to put a sign up for that, they'll get a hold of him.
But anyway, I think it's a decent
Next
idea.
picnic would be great.
So it's just logistical costs and so forth. But as we move through our budget cycle, this will be I guess, remember trustees, that we will have to talk about this and see what kind of get information about what this might cost and where it would come out of. So, and then before we pull the trigger on that, we would have to get input from everyone about availability, ideas, et cetera. So I think it's worth the pursuit.
Before we leave the retreat topic, we'll remind everyone that I mentioned as a mini retreat that we do the highway cleanup for Rotary in the spring. So I personally am considering that our first retreat.
That's not really a retreat, Carol.
Well, when I did it
Team
this
building.
past time.
Team building, but
Listen,
are
I'm
you,
joking.
are you having a village team?
I was with a group of 4 to 5 people, and we walked Trip Hammer Road together and chatted, and it was a nice day, and I personally felt bonded with my team.
Or is it residents?
They were not residents, they were people in Rotary, so it was.
Oh, in Rotary, you
Oh.
said Rotary.
But there were other groups there too. So one of the people, there were people from Zero Waste Ithaca, there were some student groups and et cetera. So if we were to team up, group in.
You'd want a village team, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Then we could
I'm
call-
saying, like, we would be in the small groups that you were talking about. So 4 of us who aren't necessarily working together would go on the left side, and 4 of us who aren't would go on the right side, and, you know, maybe afterwards we can get a coffee.
Maybe.
That could be retreat number 1.
And John can tell us the road that needs it the most.
There you go. No problem.
Yeah, down there, yeah, after you go past the Blair, right? Yeah.
Okay, no, that's a good idea.
Gomax is looking pretty bad too, and all of that is from East Point, by the way.
Oh,
Recycling.
trash, you mean? Oh.
Recycling, yep.
Blowing around.
Well, if you do the retreats or the trash pickup, just know that the intent cannot be to discuss village business, or else then it would be an open meeting.
There you go.
So it's all team building and get to know you.
You can remind us that morning.
See you there, right there. No, it's just like, what's that?
You're a natural born leader, you'll be out front.
And, okay, so any comments on either NICOM or the Planning Federation? Any thoughts about that?
I think one of the things that could be beneficial if there was some crossover there, that helps to see, for example, what are the main things that just keep coming up at probably NICOM? There's probably always a constant theme that municipalities are struggling with. It would be helpful for the planning board maybe to see some of that so that we would know. I know that when we have gone to like the Planning Federation, you know, there's always like, a lot of the sessions are dealing with kind of similar stuff that have cropped up across the board for municipalities. And I just thought maybe it would be helpful to have some crossover there so that we would sort of know what you were, you know, having to focus on, and you would know what we're having to focus on.
So in lieu of sending somebody or with them somebody, that is an expense. I know that whenever the trustees come back from NICOM, they give a quite lengthy report to the Board of Trustees. So perhaps when they come back, they could do the same report to the planning board to give the planning board an idea of the topics that were discussed.
Or I was even thinking, now, we came around Christmas time and had a lunch and learn thing
Yeah.
here. And I also thought maybe, probably more efficient would be some of that planning board stuff, the New York Planning Federation. There was some really good stuff on short-term rentals, just really interesting thoughts. And one of the ones that I watched, they have, bundles, and there's 4. Now, some of them were a little more, applicable, because we're kind of an odd man out, let's face it. But there was one like Lake George, what they've done with that, and it was like really interesting. And I thought, oh, we should be hearing some of these, not maybe like we can do it this year, but it should be out there as a possibility. One of the things that, there were 2 things that came out of one that I watched. And one was, well, a lot of them don't legislate it because there's reasons not to. But one was using some of this, it was about land, it was about vacant lots and, properties that have been abandoned or whatnot. If there was, like, they came up as a municipality with a plan that they would love to see, a mixed-use plan. And they actually hired somebody, obviously, to develop a plan for this site as an example of what the town would like to see in this area, so that developers would understand what we're looking for. And I thought that was very interesting. And the other thing was that they also talked about zoning incentives, because we can't provide money to somebody, but we could provide, okay, if you give us what we want, sort of a crossover from a PDA in a funny way, we'll break some of the rules that we have in the code. And it was like, if somebody's got a 2nd-story building and they say they want to do mixed use, or we'll give them setback considerations and that kind of stuff. And I thought, this is the kind of stuff that we should all be thinking about, just sort of have in the back of our mind. I hadn't thought about that. So maybe a better way would be is if we come across some good education, maybe once a quarter we say, gee, let's have a lunch and learn, or like we did, because that was helpful. And it was nice to just come, sit for an hour at lunch, watch, and it was nice.
Except the volume didn't work.
Yeah,
The
well,
volume didn't work, so we couldn't turn it up.
Excuse me, so does the New York Planning Federation, do they have video sessions
yeah,
that you
they're
can record it
basically
and?
recordings of Zoom.
Oh, okay,
or
okay. And
sessions that
NICOM
they-
does some of the same?
They also do, but they also do live webinars.
Yes.
And they've started them
Do
up
that.
again. In fact, next Tuesday is battery storage at noon.
Oh,
Next
wow.
Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you.
Probably
Yeah, I know. I don't
You'll
think
be,
you-
that's
I think
what you'll
I
be
will
doing
be-
Tuesday, yeah.
But for their webinars, do they typically, they record it and then make it available as a non-live
yes.
version
Yeah,
later?
yeah.
Basically, they just send you the link.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
They have bundles of 4 things, so you get, and then you just keep tuning in as you
So,
want.
well, Hancock does that too. They record it,
Yeah.
you can get access to them later. I mean,
okay,
obviously. so-
all right. I'm just curious. I know NICOM does that, not for absolutely every session that they have at the NICOM conferences, but for a lot of them they do.
Yeah, I'm sure this is not everything they did either, but, so you can zone in
Certain
on
ones.
what you are interested in.
Yeah, so that, one thing we do is if there's a topic that the planning board or the trustees find within NICOM or New York Planning Federation that we would want to, I guess, do you pay for the webinars, or are they typically?
No, because
most
we're
of-
members.
yeah, most of,
We're
if you're
members.
in, if
Okay,
you're
so-
planning federation, yeah,
Because
they
the
can.
village is a
yeah.
member of the New York
Yep,
Planning.
so we
So
get
we
them
just
for
have to tell them, then they send you, you just basically write them and say, I'm interested in bundle C, and they send you the links for those
Okay.
bundle
So
things.
we should
But
kind
we
of
could
coordinate.
maybe just forward the link, I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking is if we could always
I was,
set
in
it up.
fact,
so-
I was gonna
Yeah,
send
we're
you
in here.
all this one on the Lake George one, because I really thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it sounds
Of the
like,
4 that I thought, it was the most, in a funny way, they were the most similar to us in size and tourism and, they have a fairly, they're fairly wealthy community, of course, as well as so that if they really are trying to protect their tourism, they're a little more charming than we are as a village, but that can't be helped. Well, the pictures they were showing.
Sure, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but, yeah, exactly. So, but there were some things there, but there were just some good ideas.
Okay, all right. Yeah, share that with us.
Yeah, I will.
Let's start with that and, see what it is.
And Mike had shared the bundles with the trustees as well, and NICOM has some you pay for, but some are free, just like those, and they're at noon, they're 1 hour on a variety of topics. Like in July, it was water quality.
They do a ton, I mean, they do.
A ton of stuff.
I watched one, it was really interesting. I don't know how pertinent it would be here, but I mean, one of the ones that I watched, it was one of the municipalities, when they have large projects come in, they have a certain percentage that the developer also can, great, you're gonna do your project, it's $1 million project. Set aside 1%, on top of that to, I'm gonna call it art, but it's not just like murals and like, beautification, things like that. It was almost like they had this kind of downtown area in the municipality that they would take some of that money and they would, during the holidays, they would, have, groups come in and they would say, okay, we're gonna buy the paint, you get to go and do a mural, it'll be up for like some sort of exhibit with light poles and things, like, you can, this entire area is your canvas, and it's gonna be here for the month of December, and then next year we'll do something different. So it was also things like murals and sculptures, but it wasn't just like, yeah, set aside 1% so we can go and paint stuff in places. It was really interesting.
And it brought
Don't know how-
people to come see.
And it did, yeah, so, and that was the other thing, right, is it brought people to those areas, in the municipality to see other stuff that was going on, so it was neat.
Interesting.
Okay, well, let's move on. I wanna kind of be aware of the time too. So the next item on the agenda is the Commercial Area Advisory Committee update.
So I don't remember how much we've shared with the planning board about this, but I had a concept that I wanted to form a commercial area advisory committee that would have one member of the Board of Trustees, one member of the planning board, some residents and some local businesses come together, and these were they're going to set their goals at their first meeting, but these are the kind of concepts that I had in mind. Fostering open lines of communication between village officials and local business owners and non-residential developers. Encouraging a variety of services and amenities in the area, including food service and other services. Supporting economic development to provide high-quality employment with living wages and benefits. Project a business-friendly image for the village. Make sure that we have a consistent, well-coordinated process and easy access for people who are coming into the village and want to start a business. And support economic development that enhances the property base. So, it's a new concept. The next step on sort of forming it would be creating an application form and asking some basic questions like, how long have you been either a resident or a business owner? And, what kind of would be your objectives? Another position on the committee would be, I spoke to the Chamber of Commerce and I spoke with Peggy Coleman, who's the current president, and she was really enthusiastic about it. And they would be very interested in coming up here and having meetings with us. How often would the committee meet? It depends. They would get started, they would form their vision statement, they would figure out what they think they might be able to accomplish. And maybe they would meet monthly, maybe they would meet quarterly, maybe they'd meet semi-annually. It's kind of a future thing. It will evolve into something, hopefully, where businesses feel like the village is a place where I want to be. And residents feel like, hey, the village has a lot to offer. And that's kind of like we're trying to bring forward that. And, it's just a concept to give a try.
I think we've had this conversation, or I guess it was when I was the liaison. I think it's a great idea. I think it's going to take some time to take hold. But even just, if you can just chip away at letting the businesses know that you're receptive to this, that eventually I would think communication would improve. But, we have a lot of outside forces that are preventing some of the stuff. So I think we have to be realistic about what you can achieve to a certain extent. But I think it's definitely worth
So the committee's mission is to serve and improve the village within the abilities and resources of village government.
Yeah.
So I think that just sort of simple, there was a question that we had, it can also be its own standalone thing, you know, is it, as you're forming this committee, how does, you know, the mall, I think, is a big piece, right, of you know, commercial in the area, or we would like it to be a bigger piece of commercial in the area. The information that, you know, we kind of get from the mall owners or people who represent the mall is limited, and is there a way to leverage this committee to maybe improve that too?
Well, I find that when people are vested in something, they respond better. So if, for example, there was a committee, like let's call it the beautification committee, and your business was invited to join that, you would probably beautify your property. So if the businesses are on, if they participate, if the mall were to participate, I would think that would be a positive for the village.
Or maybe it's the businesses in the mall, but I mean, I think there's,
Medical, you probably would want somebody from Cuba Medical for sure, you know?
That would be positive.
Can't hurt. Getting them to commit will be the hard.
I don't have expectations, I just have a desire to be more proactively accessible to residents and business concerns.
Well, and just because they say no the first time doesn't mean they'll say no the second time and the third time, when you just keep at it, really.
okay, other questions for, I'm just gonna say Carol, since it's her thought.
She's spearheading it.
There you go. Okay. Next item on the agenda is traffic concerns. We had listed out, this is something that, you know, when we do our once around, usually at the end of at the planning board meeting, not all the time, but more often than not, there's, you know, some concern about something that's happened recently, or some things that we've seen that are ongoing, and, you know, in the past, maybe we bring it up and it gets, you know, done, you know, it improves a little bit, and then it just kind of goes back to the same old, you know, concern that we see in areas. I think some of them we may have listed in the past aren't on here anymore because of changes, but, you know, specifically Janivar, Bomax, the Cayuga Mall area, especially with changes in a lot of these areas now, for the better. There are some new traffic concerns too, so I know, Lorraine, you brought some of these up. Do you want to share? I think Cayuga Mall is the one that we talked about at the last meeting.
Cayuga
Is
Mall
that you,
was
Lisa?
Lisa. Yeah, that was one of your concerns, was
Cayuga
Cayuga
Mall.
Mall.
So we talked about Cayuga Mall, you know, at the last, I think the last planning board meeting, maybe the one before that, right? It's great now that there's some new business there, right? There, you know, Planet Fitness moved over there. Ross is there. There's Taco Bell there. There's other existing businesses there. But with that, it also seems that, you know, Aldi opened up there. But with that, it seems that there are traffic concerns on the kind of the main thoroughfare there, once you're onto the property. And then also at the light, there's, you know, some sort of congestion and things like that. And, you know, what as a village can we do, either locally or, you know, working with the DOT to see if there's anything that we can do to improve some of those?
The real thing at Cayuga Mall, well, the light is an issue,
Yeah.
but also the whole part where the road goes right along the buildings. The bollards, some of them are knocked down, some of the stop signs are missing, and it is just, I was just there today, the FedEx guy just blew through the stop signs. And I mean, when you're I was trying to get to Aldi, I'm just, you know, you gotta be on guard. And it's parking lot design that's the problem. And I think that's something that I would like to see as the planning board, is we've got to change our parking lot design. That whole area right along there should really, basically, you should have to come in and go down and come out, and that area should be just walkway probably.
Yeah.
But I just hope nobody gets hurt.
I'm surprised nobody's been hit yet.
Me
Like,
too, I mean,
I've seen people blowing through, and now they moved the stop signs.
was there missing or something, I don't know.
No, they moved them they moved them
they're
so
on the
they're both
sidewalk.
right next to the Aldi.
Building,
Yeah, I think because they were probably in, I don't know why. But anyway, that's where they are now. Some people stop, some people
Well, like I
don't.
said, the FedEx guy just blew right through there.
A lot of the
Whoa.
people heading to Planet Fitness, the kids, they blow right through. But I've also seen adults, like.
Oh, no, it's just,
Gotta pay
it's a
attention.
problem. It's
Yeah.
it's a universal problem. But, yeah, and I do think that the light, because it's become more successful, I think people are starting to take license with going a little through yellow lights and red lights a little bit more. Because, but.
That light is a state-owned
Yeah, I
light.
know,
yeah,
that's what because I kept saying, is there anything we can do about that? But
We can ask, but the problem is, and quite frankly, Ithaca has the same problem because a lot of their lights down in the congested part of
oh my gosh.
are state-owned. And if the timings are off, the state is very slow or reluctant or whatever to come down and change them. I think it's the same problem. Don't we have a similar problem, John?
There was a problem with that light especially, because it was, I believe it was in recall, it was holding max times on left turn lanes to come down off the viaduct, go in the mall, and it was extending those lane timings for that left turns. And it was really stacking the cars in the side roads and even on Mainline. It since has been back in business now, it's working good. I don't really see a problem there. I mean, we did a safety action plan study there this last summer. Carolyn and Ronnie were involved in it. They did a study on Trip Hammer Corridor, and the corridor is pretty safe. I mean, it's functioning properly. They had a couple recommendations: rapid flashing beacons, narrowing the intersections down, which that's not going to happen. It's not cost effective, and it's kind of really designed under the federal standards because we pulled a bunch of federal money for this road in 2004. So, I mean, this road is recognized as a state R permit road, so oversized vehicles can come down here. And we were never given the opportunity to voice our opinions on it. They just designated it and that was it. Even though it made sense to send them down East Shore Drive or something like that, because that was their road. So, I think you caught it at the wrong time. I see a lot, I'm here every day. And it takes a long time to get from this driveway to the south end of the village with a snowplow to get all through the lights. But most of the time, they're timed to work efficient, fast moving. They go on calls of cars. We're downtown, they're primarily on recall. They're just doing, we just put our first traffic camera up that does movement, that recognizes everything on wheels, which is a great thing. So now bicycles get a call on Graham Road. Eventually, we want to turn all our signals into that, rather than having sensing metallic vehicles that are buried in the road. So when you have a freeze-thaw cycle, those loops break and they don't, so that automatically puts the controller back into recall, maxes all the times out and just screws messes the traffic flows up. So downtown, they are implementing more of the mild vision camera detection systems, which we just installed. Now you notice we have a left turn up Graham, which is really nice. So left turn in every direction. There's nothing we can do about those timings. Those timings are set by the state. They do studies frequently on them. They're in conjunction with the Savannah Park traffic signal and the 2 bridge traffic signals. Those 4 and the Pyramid Drive to Tops are owned by the state DOT.
Okay.
And they're old and they have frequent problems with them.
Right.
So they are updating it, which is good.
Okay.
Regarding your comments about traffic on Cayuga Mall, I don't know how you're ever going to fix that. No matter what you
It's the
design,
parking.
there are just people who don't pay
Okay.
it. Once they're on a private property and they're off a public street, all rules are out the window.
Yeah, I think it's parking lot design,
It's parking lot design.
and that's something
and I
that we
know
can at least.
You can try,
We can
but,
try.
but there are going to be drivers who ignore the design. And just, I wish we could promise people that they would be absolutely safe. We can only do our part.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Our part is to do the design, and I agree with that, but
Yep.
don't be surprised if,
Oh, well, somebody's always going to not obey.
yes. I have really learned that since I've moved to the village, lived on Dart Drive, and been involved with boards and staff here. They're just people who don't pay attention to the speed sign, pedestrian.
Oh, they don't-
Road, yeah.
They don't pay attention to codes, they're very creative about,
No.
if you leave one single word out,
Yeah,
it doesn't say this.
right. So,
It's the spirit, nobody, you know.
no, I agree.
It's even worse now than
Yeah,
it
well,
was
it's gotten
10 years
way
ago,
worse.
right? People now don't even care.
Yes. I completely agree with you.
And then the other thing that comes up regularly too is the Janivar Bomax.
And that's what
Changed
he's
there.
complaining. Ronnie's already heard me complain like
I mean, I used to,
meetings ago.
I used to live right there, so,
You
oof,
know,
yeah.
well, it's really bad. Like,
Oh.
even today, like, I was walking at like 1:30 in the afternoon, and people are blowing through those stop
But
signs.
at least you've
and-
got a sidewalk.
Oh, no, this is
Right
walking
there.
on the road.
Yeah.
This
Right
is.
There are
walking on the road.
areas
I'm
where
talking
you
on
walk the
Janiver and
road.
Oh,
Norway.
on Janivar,
Yeah.
Janivar.
I'm telling you,
Bomax has a
the way to
sidewalk.
nip it in the bud is if you could get a sheriff to sit down there right by Ron's house
They did
from
that.
8 to 9.
And so that's the thing, they will sometimes, and they'll
I
catch
haven't
people.
seen him now. Ever since, Pat, remember, was it last summer when they were down there? You
Every 7 minutes, they were ticketing somebody.
If you could get them to sit down there 3 times a week from 8 to 9, I'm going to tell you what, they would get so many tickets. One morning, I was early, and it was one car right after another, coming off of Norway onto Janivar, and I'm like, oh my God, where's the sheriff when you need him? Like,
But if I can add something on, I was against all those stop signs to begin with. There's like 13.
Well, yes.
Yeah, they're all
It's
over. the
ridiculous.
place there.
And whenever you use stop signs, regulatory signs, stop signs for traffic calming, it's the biggest mistake anybody can do. I mean, there is criteria for those to justify adding stop signs and multiple approaching intersections, like equal number of traffic coming in all directions. I'm sure Evar's Way and that little spur where you used to live don't have any traffic there, you know, and that was the whole mistake to it. When they put, the developer put all them signs up, the village didn't, but the village approved them. And that's what happened.
No, there's,
Once those stop signs become up there for traffic calming, and that was the whole idea of the sharp turns, is traffic.
right,
You know, and at that time, we didn't have the commercial drive of Bomax. That's actually a commercial road, 30 feet wide. When we didn't have that, it was a dead end, and it was kind of in or out, you know what I mean? Same means of egress. But once we connected that other road, there's only really 2 connector roads down from Warren Road to the Trip Hammer Road. It's basically that one,
Dart
Dart
Drive.
Drive, and Sheridan Drive. That's it. I mean, so people don't like to get on the highway.
yeah.
That's what they do.
and That's what you get.
We can make requests of the county sheriff's department to be there, but you have to realize, we don't have that many sheriffs, many officers, and they have to cover the entire county. And that means sometimes driving from this side of the lake all the way over to the other side of the lake and do whatever they need to do, and then drive all the way back, and that it consumes a lot of their time. But I will make a note to call the sheriff, Derek Osborne, and say, is there any way that you can, at times, when you find time, to go down into that area? Where would you recommend they be?
Oh, they need to back.
And you know the increased points now on stop sign violations?
Oh, really?
It's massive. Now it's like 5 points on your license.
We
Yeah.
can make an
Cell
announcement.
phones, like 3 points, 4
Oh,
points
yeah,
now.
so
I would,
Everything.
at the end of the month, they can get killing.
Right there, it's Evar's Way right
is-
there.
Yeah, what
They
is-
Parked either at the dead end,
No, they want to be at the dead end, right? What's Ron's last name there, the house? Anyway,
Ron Dodson.
yeah, they want to be backed right in there up to the village trail.
yeah, it's either end.
I've
The
seen-
trail works better because you
Yeah.
don't see them down there.
Because he can see them when
Yeah.
they're coming down, when they go right through the
Right
stop
through, and they won't
sign,
see
and
it,
then when
yeah.
they go through the, he can see.
We have a lot of trooper friends, and they can sit at Security Mutual and write all the tickets they want all day long for cell phone violations.
Yeah.
So I will make a
It's really
point to call.
minimal up there. I mean, you're gonna catch one, unless you're at rush time, you're gonna catch one Wednesday, Tuesdays all day. I mean, I'm not saying it's not warranted.
No, but between 8 and 9 in that
What do
area,
they do for speed?
they'd have a heyday.
Automatic discount, like you just have to send something in to the county and they'll
Yeah.
knock it down to a.
But I will say, my request for the electronic radar signs on Bomax, John had installed, and I think it's made a difference. I mean, I'm watching, right? But I mean, there are still some people, some of them are from the neighborhood below, I won't mention any names, but you probably know who they are. still are going fast, but I mean, I have seen some people, they're going 40, 41, but I haven't seen anything over that. But I always, if I'm walking down the sidewalk, I always turn around and look to see if it's, what it's
We
flashing.
can pull the data on that. The last time we were pulling data on it, we averaged about 25 to 30 mile an hour on Dart Drive.
Yeah.
There's a guy that will go 50, or person that will go 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
That's the
66
one
I saw.
Sometimes that you happen to witness, and it's crazy.
Yeah,
Have-
no, I've
have-
seen them, I
Have you
know.
done anything on Cayuga Heights Road lately? From like about, after the curves to East Shore? They go blowing by, some of them are 50, I know that's how fast they're going.
So when you start, like, being involved in your community, you start to notice things like this. When you start permitting buildings and businesses to come in Cuba Mall, you start to observe that. We talked about this at the last meeting, was the welcome to Ithaca sign at the airport. It's the Village of Lansing, has nothing to do with Ithaca. And that was a good little sign you had crafted up there. But, I mean, once you're involved, and you start noticing things like this, you walk, you're involved, you go to the mall. And Cuba Heights Road for you, I mean, that's an everyday travel for you, So, I mean, you start to notice things like that. Really, things haven't changed that much, but your observation of it.
You're right, yeah.
You observe more.
Good. They have changed, actually. In the past, I would say 10 years. But I guess it's just that, they just go so fast.
Right.
I mean, really fast, because it's a straight shot.
Yeah.
And they start, the minute they get that last corner, they just floor it. And I'll tell you,
If they're coming, if they're going south.
Well, during the meetings with the safety action plan between Ronnie, myself, and Carolyn, and the group that Tompkins County did, we brought three areas of attention that needed to be addressed in the village. Trip Hammer Road, Warren Road, and Route 13 for pedestrian crossings. And we brought Cuba Heights Road and East Shore Drive for not the perpendicular, the merging south, frankly. We brought those three areas of concern, and the fixes are just nearly impossible. One, they're mostly out of our jurisdiction. Most of it's state involved at Warren and 13, and that's state involved at Cuba Heights and East Shore Drive. But we wanted to bring that on the document, just to kind of see what we could do, what values were there, and try to maybe get collaboration from all the municipalities involved with state DOT to make some corrections. So there is some, we know that we're starting to work on things. It's just, we're not paddling very quickly, so.
I'll just wait for somebody.
Anyway, you don't need to pull any data on Bomax. But I think
It's easy to do, we do it with our cell phone.
But I just wanted you to know, I think it's really helpful.
It'll give us a good count though.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea at some
It'll
point.
give us a good traffic count, see what's going down through there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, next item is the Green Lake Committee update.
I will give maybe a 2-minute plan unless you guys have more questions. Greenway Committee is gonna have a big year. We are doing a new master plan. We want each park to have an identity. And we want to have a mapped out trail system that's maybe it's future trails, but it's gonna be a connecting between the village parks, the town, and maybe some other rec things around town. We have a Cornell class working with us this upcoming semester. They're gonna be doing some renderings. At least the befores will be useful. If their afters might turn out to be a little ambitious. But we still have beautiful before renderings, which we don't currently have in the current plan. And yeah, and for themes for the parks, I'm thinking Dankert is gonna be like the adult entertainment park. So like, we're talking about maybe. Have you? Stop thinking about pickleball.
Pickleball would be.
Entertainment is sports, so pickleball. I'm probably turning red right now. Because but right now there's like a playground equipment that's mirrors and
Carolyn, adult entertainment is only
No,
allowed
we
in
banned-
commercial high
I'm
traffic.
gonna have to apply for a special permit. So, so we're thinking about that park going more towards like a sporting theme and less like teens and adults, and then the
That's the
park,
playground.
Global Village being the younger, and so kind of theming out the parks a little bit more defined. And John is working on helping us and put in a new trail at Marion and Don Hartel Park, which will be a loop, Because everyone loves the loop. Everyone loves to walk a loop.
That's north of the park, that park.
Yeah, but it's kind of the park trail.
Yeah,
So
we
it
just-
starts at the park.
Kensington Apartments down the
Yeah.
back of East Point, and then down and kind of kisses Lansing Trails too, and then back down towards Wakefield Church. We also talked about a trail around Danker Park too.
Yeah.
It's a nice oval.
But that was part of the adult entertainment.
You probably get a lot of walkers.
Yeah, so we're thinking about signage at these parks, at like, the trail, labeling the trails. Maybe a little bit, some of the signage isn't super friendly right now, maybe just like a little bit more friendly. I think the one at,
Cozier, maybe a little cozier.
yeah, we're gonna cozy up the signage a little bit. The one that's right now at the beginning of that trail that we walked, I don't know, does that trail have a name?
Need trail name.
At Marion Hartel, if Marion Hartel Park's on your left, and you just started towards
Coventry Walk.
Coventry Walk.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's like a kind of an unfriendly sign there
You
now.
missed your opportunity, John's Way.
Yeah, exactly. Once he gets to the loop. Yeah, we're gonna think about renaming that trail, for sure. I've already thought about that. Yeah, so a lot of good stuff's coming from Greenway, so.
That's great.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Wood thrush. That's kind of fitting for that area. Wood thrush. That used to be the name of the.
We saw one, I told you when we went with Lynn.
You did.
Yeah,
Good.
kind of a cool name.
They're still there.
Definitely signs and trail markers. I've gotten lost. in
Yeah,
those.
signs and trail markers, connections, kind of a global,
Lots of
philosophy.
people understand that it is a village.
We're always trying to make it feel like we're a village and let people know where they are.
Any questions about Greenway
No,
stuff?
but you've got me thinking about that. Maybe you should do some dedications and have people,
Yeah,
philanthropy, have a scholarship fund or something. I mean, obviously, the village can't be like asking for money, right? I mean, I don't know how that whole thing works, but what if you had like some sort of scholarship fund or something like that, and you did some philanthropy? And so say somebody wanted their name on one of the trail signs.
Oh, right, like with
We
the,
started that with the benches.
Yeah.
There was a soccer bench up, gentleman that went to Ithaca High School up at, Ned Hickey Park, Don Hartel did one. We still have a few more benches for sale if somebody wants to put in memory of.
And then what does the money go to? Where does the money go?
by the bench.
Oh, it
Yeah.
just buys the bench. Oh, okay.
we are
Like
gonna
the
have,
playground out at, in Lansing there at the little kids playground, all the slats were, you could go and buy a slat and the name's on there, and it was,
Oh, yeah, like it Pikes.
yeah. Yep.
Interesting.
So if somebody buys a
Yeah, Myers,
bench,
thank you.
get their name
Don't know
on
why I
it.
We basically took the bench, the price of the bench and what it cost for the plaque. And we basically sold it to the person that was trying to get a member,
Yes.
remember that? It was-
Yes.
I think we've done it 2 or 3 times now.
so we do want to have dedication trees in Marion Hartel Park for Don and for Ann Fury. So there will be 2 actual dedication trees that are part of the Greenway plan.
Maybe you need to have a trail naming contest or something.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Any sort of engagement for the village, yeah.
Something to drop.
Figure out a way to do it that's
Anything.
not on the internet, or yeah.
Okay.
There are all sorts of benches at various trails
Oh.
in the county that are dedicated to people, and we could always do something like that too. Simple benches or benches that we've already purchased. So, yeah.
Okay, and then the last piece is just a chance for everyone to kind of go around if there's anything you want to bring up that we didn't already talk about tonight. Obviously, I would like to limit it to roughly ending around 9 o'clock,
7
but
minutes.
we can take a little longer than 7 minutes if there's something. So that,
I think that it's already been touched on about the atrocious condition of the mall parking lot, particularly in the back, if you go past the Best Buy and go around that way. I was just there a few hours ago, and it was unbelievably full of holes.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, it is.
But we've covered that, so that's all I
I'm
have.
working on it though. Mike and Natalie put a ton of time into at least get the ones up front fixed. But, all right.
So I have a mall update. So Spencer Gifts is closing.
Yes.
They're closing you probably already know all this. They're closing next week, I think probably Sunday. And apparently, Hugo Medical bought their space or is buying their space to expand.
It's going to be the
Before
medical
they
mall.
go bankrupt.
So, yeah, yeah, I know. Well, I'm like, are they really? Where are they getting the money from?
Right.
Anyway, that's all I had.
Kevin?
Have anything?
Lisa?
No, I actually was going to bring up the thing about the short-term rental stuff. But I also was wondering about the whole A1 thing, and I think we're just taking that off the line, so.
AI. Yeah. We'll chat about it, yeah, at the next. Yeah. Mike?
Just a couple things, the multi-unit building that's on 134 Graham that we've had issues with has been taken over by an owner. And speaking with the owner, they're actually working on putting on new roofing on all the buildings right now. He has indicated that he's gonna be going through the apartments, new carpet, new tile, painting, new kitchens, putting in new windows, new siding. So he's gonna be putting quite a little bit of money into that area, so I can say this because he's started that process now, they're actually working on the roof right now. And there's a good possibility that the Cuba Mall will have a couple new eateries coming in soon. Those I can't really kind of disclose, but, no, I'm not, sorry.
Not Cuba Mall.
Strip Hammer.
Trip on the mall, yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, really?
Oh, good.
Status with Adelitas. What's the status of Adelitas?
Just from what I've heard, last time I heard they were looking for their liquor license. Seems like they would have gotten it by now, but then I had also heard that there was a supply issue, whether it's cooking equipment or just general supplies, I have no idea.
There was a U-Haul backed up to the front doors early last week, I saw it.
Yeah, there was one a little bit before that too, they were unloading it, so, yeah. Hopefully progress. Anything else, Mike?
No.
Pat?
Nothing from me.
No, it will wait for the staff meeting. It's just the upcoming Cuba Lake Watershed Intermunicipal. It's on the, I do send it.
You send it to, yeah, we can.
So if anybody has any topics that you'd like to see them address, they're now on an every other month basis. So they, meeting 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. But, so the next meeting is January 21. And it's the work plan and then the priority items. So if you have any input or feedback just for the next meeting, send that along, or ideas for speakers or topics that you're interested in, or projects.
So just very briefly on the commercial area for the village, I've lived here for a long time, been on the government for a long time, but it's only very, very recently that I've thought about my own shopping habits with relation to the village, with relation to the services that are offered, and making a conscious choice to come to the village and think about what the village is offering for haircuts and for which Aldi you choose, and for whether or not I want to go downtown to shop or I want to just stay right here. And I really started to stay right here. And I don't know, maybe you guys were doing this the whole time, but I just started. And so I just want to encourage everyone, now that light bulb has gone off, stay right here.
Good
I don't go for,
Well, like,
Going
for
downtown.
examples, I'm driving up
Nice, I
and
know.
I'm passing one, I drive right past that all day and come up to this one. You know what I mean?
what?
Like, if I'm driving home and I want to stop at Aldi, I don't stop at Aldi. I drive past that Aldi and come to this Aldi.
Oh,
You know what I mean? I used to
yeah, well,
just,
once it came up here, I used to go to the other.
right, but I used to stop there, and then I'm like, wait a second, I'm gonna go to the Villages, even though I have to drive past one to go to
Anytime
the.
I can avoid Route 13 downtown.
That's what I said, I was like.
That's my criteria.
Downtown.
So I find it easier and easier to just stay right here.
Stay right here,
Yep, we got gas, we got groceries, we've got,
get your hair cut, you can get your
Yeah.
lunch, you can go to the car wash, restaurants.
yep.
No, Natalie would love it if there was a steakhouse up here somewhere, but.
I have a few requests.
Ah.
Now, we do, we need a more variety of
Demands.
food places.
Well, we'll see what happens with them all.
Mike's on it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, Natalie?
Don't have anything.
I don't have a thing.
I will share just one kind of parting comment before we let the trustees close, and, this is this our second joint, official kind of joint meeting to this schedule, or third?
Third, yes.
So third, I know after the last one, Ronnie and I got some feedback about making adjustments for this one, and we did that, just, getting information ahead of time, sharing information, between the boards and between meetings, so hopefully we heard your feedback and took it into account for this meeting, and if you have any additional feedback, let Ronnie and I know, and we'll try to incorporate that into the next joint meeting, which is in July. And that will be during one of their regularly scheduled trustee meetings. With that, though, I'll let you close your.
Okay, I need a motion to close the Board of Trustees meeting. Carolyn moves, Kathleen seconds.
Third, fourth.
There we go.
Now we all get to vote.
I'll second.
Okay, that's unanimous. Board of Trustees is officially closed their meeting at
9 PM.
9 on the.
9 on the
And I
dot.
will entertain a motion to close the planning board meeting. Motion by Jim,
I move to close.
motion by Lorraine, second by Jim, all in favor? 9 PM still, there you go, bam, we did it. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.